Hello, everybody.
I'm afraid to wash my hair, cause I might open my eyes and find someone standing there.
All right, why don't we go ahead and get started here? Thank you, everybody, for joining. My name is Robert Maloney, and I'm the head of our solutions engineering group here at Logitech. And I appreciate you guys taking time out of your busy schedules to come and join us. A couple of housekeeping things here before we get started. First of all, everybody, please go into your Zoom clients and make sure you give us your first name and last name. We're going to be doing a raffle after the call, and some lucky winner is going to get a Brio camera. And so please, if you wouldn't mind, just make your first name, last name known within your Zoom client so we can pick you out pretty easily. And then how to do that, just go to the top of your screen, hover over your video and select from the menu, choose rename and put in your first and last name for us. And then also the agenda for today, there's Nathan Spear is going to walk us through key innovations in your room. He's going to highlight and he's going to drill deep into a couple of particular products for conference rooms today. And Nathan is on the solutions engineering team as our solutions architect here in North America. And very excited to have him walk you guys through. And then we'll have plenty of room at the top for Q&A. But please do ask questions. If you're shy and you want to ask questions throughout the presentation, please pop them into the chat. We've got a lot of other SEs on the call that are going to be helping to answer questions, and some of them we might even highlight and answer out loud. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Nathan Spear. Welcome, Nathan.
Thank you, Robert. I appreciate it. And first and foremost, happy Halloween to everybody. I happen to wear my costume today, so feel free to drop in the chat what you think I am. It is a bit of a play on words, but it is critical for today and going through all the details. We'll put it that way. All right, so moving along, like Robert already mentioned, we're talking again today about innovations within the room. Robert, we'll move on to the next slide here.
Okay.
So we're going to break this down first and foremost about Sight. Our solution for center of the table in conjunction with, again, Microsoft Teams Room and Zoom Room. And then towards the end of the conversation, we're going to move on to Scribe, which is, again, the whiteboarding to digital experience that got certified for Google Meet about 4 months ago at InfoComm. So with all that said, moving on to Logitech Sight. So this was just released a couple months ago. Again, it is Logitech's position that we don't necessarily think that more cameras in the room is the right way to go about things, right? Heightens anxiety, heightens bombs, things of that nature. So we went more for, again, center of table. Now, again, this provides two viewpoints. That's giving you, of course, sight in the middle of the table, but then also complemented by the front of room camera, which would either be Rally Bar or Rally Bar Mini. Just allows us to go on ahead, see more clearly. Again, make a more inclusive experience, specifically for the far end participants. And again, not overly intrusive in the sense of you walk into a room full of cameras, really starts to make you wonder, what's going on, that kind of thing, right? Now, we also are going to talk about cable management, which is always front of mind for Logitech across all of our solutions. And then we will get into what we're calling smart switching, which is going to be a day 2 feature that we're anticipating coming in the front half of 2024. So let's move on to the next slide. I need to underline this and stress this to everybody. So today, Sight works exclusively with the Rally Bar or the Rally Bar Mini. I want you to think of it as an extension. Sight today is not a networkable solution. It is very much an add-on to the Rally Bar or Rally Bar Mini experience. So again, if there's anything that we take away from this, I want that to be one of the key understandings and details of this walkthrough. Let's go to the next slide. Nailed it, Blair. I see that. Nice job. All right. So Sight, again, it has a 315-degree pickup pattern. Most people, immediately assume, and rightfully so, that's a 360-degree. We left that little notch out of approximately about 45 degrees, meant to face the display, which is what's being illustrated here. Really what we're trying to do here is just make it a real simple way to avoid any type of false flag. So in other words, when you're putting your Sight within your environment, First and foremost, we like to call out that today it's most appropriate for your medium-sized spaces. Okay. We don't necessarily think that Sight is meant for every single space. There is definitely a purpose and intent to adding it to the overall experience. But to start the conversation, I think we should focus on the medium-sized spaces. Now, we'll go ahead and we'll talk more about where this is going in the future as we go through this slide here, or through this deck rather. But from an audio perspective, you have a full 360-degree pickup pattern that, again, is meant to reinforce that audio pickup from the bar at the front of the room. Now, the visual pickup, as far as Sight is concerned, is meant about a 7.5-foot radius. Okay, so just consider that. Again, that's what's being illustrated here as far as the aerial view of this space is concerned. Let's go to the next slide. Beautiful fade in. Okay, so what we're showing off here is more of the software functioning within Sight. And you're seeing it triangulate upon the individual that's at the bottom center of our screen right now. So again, Sight is bringing up to 4 active participants in the meeting. Now, it's a dynamic experience, right? So in other words, you're seeing persons being dropped after approximately 45 seconds of no audible interaction. And then what happens is it will collapse. So that we'll just say, for a simple example, you have your 4 persons up, person 3 drops after about 45 seconds. It closes that space, leaving just your 3 active participants up on screen while simultaneously being complemented by a front of room group shot. So you're also getting all those non-audible contextual cues. And I always like to call back to things like who's on their phone, who attended, who didn't, who's asleep, things of that nature, right? So you're still getting all the persons who are not audibly participating. They're still visibly represented to the far end by your front of room camera, which is working in collaboration with Sight at the center of the table. Move on to the next slide. So we obviously have a lot of a number of different orientations today, right? It used to be everything was pretty much a bowling alley style conference room. That's being represented on the left image here. Now, the center image is kind of what we're seeing more today, tends to be more indicative of our Microsoft Teams users, specifically the front row layout, where you're taking the table, you're orientating it in parallel with your front of room display. Again, Sight has perfect use and purpose within that furniture layout design. To the right-hand side, what we're showing off right now is where we're going, right? This is one of the 2 day 2 features, which is daisy chaining of up to 2 sites. It's at this stage when we're able to bring in 2 sites that we're going to start talking about those larger spaces. So just to go back and reiterate, we're really looking at medium-sized spaces today for Sight, but as soon as the daisy chaining becomes available in the near future, again, via a free software update, as always, from Logitech, we're going to be able to start to leverage dual sites within a space.
Hey, Nathan, we've got a couple questions coming in that I'd like to ask. And first of all, like, I agree with you, Brian. I don't know why all the good Halloween songs are from the 80s. Nathan and I were actually talking about that this morning. It's very strange, isn't it? But great song we were playing in the beginning. One question that came in from Patrick Perry. He asked a pretty regular question that we hear on a fairly regular basis. Is he says, not all conference rooms have a table in the middle. What about training rooms and government board meeting rooms with tables across the front with board members? Yeah. That type of application.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's a great call out. And it comes right back to where I was saying earlier, just about the different orientations we're seeing. So MPRs are multi-purpose rooms, modular spaces, training facilities, things of this nature. Absolutely. You have no consistency when it comes to where your furniture is placed. And that could be on a day by day or even a session by session scenario. So with that in mind, we pack, and I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself because we're getting more about what's in the box. But I will call this out now, just again, in relation to this question, and that is the third mounting option that we include in the box with Sight, and that would be for, again, tripod mounting options. So back to the modular spaces, that would be my suggestion, is to leverage the tripod mount, again, included with Sight, for those challenging, more modular spaces. Now, We all saw the next slide. I'm hoping we all have understand where this reference is from. So again, keeping it interesting here. So what's in the box? Couldn't quite say it as well as Brad Pitt, but regardless, let's take a quick glance. So of course, Sight is in the box. One quick thing I want to call out here is the strap, the safety strap around Sight. Again, I've gone to a number of customer sites. We love how people have been so excited going ahead and deploying this solution in their conference rooms. In a number of them, I've seen the belt still on there. For what it's worth, you can keep that in the box. That's just for the installation process. But it is something that we go ahead and ship with Sight. You're seeing it as, again, that little black ring around the top of it. So that's Sight itself. But let's go ahead and go around the rest of the box here. So number 2, cable clips. Back to the cable management comment I made a moment ago. If you want to go on ahead and again can retain any excess cabling underneath the table, again, just keep it nice and clean. That's where the Sight clips that are included in the box are going to be helpful. Coming down to the dongle, this is a dual-headed dongle, right? So you have a USB-A and then the proprietary mic port connection. Both of these are going to connect to your Rally Bar or Rally Bar Mini. That then goes to a female RJ45. So you're talking just standard category cable that you can now use for wiring to the table up to 40 meters. This does not include power. So power comes through a secondary RJ45 port on the bottom of Sight. Let's see if you can go ahead and get a little glimpse here. But in the bottom of Sight, if you're looking at my camera, you're going to go ahead and see that there are actually 3. Let me take out this dongle, which I'll talk about in a moment. There are actually 3 RJ45 ports on the bottom of this. Okay. So the one we already mentioned about a second ago, which is coming from the dongle from that front of room camera. Second port on there is going to be for power. Now, I can't stress enough, today, Sight is not a network solution. However, we do use network standards like PoE power. We're taking advantage of type 2 PoE power to power up Sight. Now, that part of this solution is not included in the box. This leans back to our sustainability pledge. Largely, this comes about from conversations with large accounts telling us, look, we already have power at the table. We can simply just go ahead and bar any kind of data flow, and we'll just take, again, that PoE that we already have pulled as part of our infrastructure. Now, alternatively, we can go ahead and offer a PoE injector, right? This is something we do have in catalog. So we can certainly go and add that, but I just want you to take away that that is not in the box, okay? So again, back to that powering aspect. It's not coming from the bar. It's coming locally at your table, or again, back to that tripod mounting option anywhere in, say, a floor box near where your tripod is wound up being installed. So let's go back to the list. We're at number 4 here. That was the dongle I was mentioning a moment ago, right? Sight allows for you to daisy chain external microphones through it. So there's no longer any proprietary cable runs back to the bar because, again, we're using standard category cable to run from the dongle to the table. Now, at this point, if we need to have additional microphones for long tables, things of that nature, you can simply daisy chain right out of Sight and away you go. No double runs, no proprietary cabling. That all is a thing of the past. Moving along to number 5. So this is going to be part of our mounting solutions. So let's just go ahead and kind of couple 5, 6, and 7 together in this conversation. So 3 mounting options in the box. Number 5 is showing you off the grommet style. So this is going to effectively lock Sight to your table, not moving anywhere. All cables cleanly dropped down through that hole. And at that point, you now have a secure, very clean looking installation as far as Sight is concerned. Dropping down to 6, this would be your tabletop mounting option. Now, on the bottom of this, there's actually micro suction. This is not standard sticker adhesion or anything along those lines. So think of it like gecko feet. So of course, it's not going to be mounted to the table like the grommet option, but this does give for a nice secure option that's easy to deploy, easy to go ahead and move around if perhaps you're taking Sight to another room. Again, all based on your needs, but be aware that there is still cable management via these tracks on each side of this tabletop version. So you can still, even if it's in a temporary setup, you can still manage those cables, keep everything looking nice and clean. Now, third, this is the one I mentioned earlier. That will be number 7 that we see up on this list. This is going to be for the tripod mounting option. Again, just a metal plate works in conjunction with some of the components you see from the other two mounting options to create a nice, secure tripod mounting option for you. Now, lastly, number 8, this would be the visor. This is a magnetic attach, which we can see here on site right now, and effectively allows for you to easily drop this down, expose the cameras, and again, begin to use Sight. And when you are not, you can simply go ahead and put them back up. Everything has now been hidden away. And the expectation is that this will also go ahead and disable the cameras then at that point. Now, the microphones will still be available. So as far as audio pickup and reinforcement is concerned, you still have that feature or that function of Sight working for you, even if you choose not to use the cameras. So I think that takes us through what's in the box. Again, another quick call out, that rubber ring you see around Sight does not need to be there. Just a quick reminder. That is simply for shipping and for when you're moving it around. Again, if you happen to take it between rooms in a temporary fashion. Okay, moving on. All right, so let's talk about the general experience. And again, this is today, right? So keeping in mind that Sight only came out a couple of months ago. We do have great plans for this. It continues to become more mature, not just through software, but also through, again, different deployment methodologies. We'll certainly expand upon that in the future as Sight and its feature list evolves. But for today, how do you enable Sight? So easiest way to go ahead and enable Sight is going to be through Logi settings. So you can go on ahead and see in this UI where you go under the camera configuration, you're simply going to go ahead and enable Right Sight 2 and select speaker view. That's it. That's it from a configuration perspective is concerned. Because keep in mind, Sight is abstracted by the Rally Bar or Rally Bar Mini. It's effectively hidden behind it. So everything that is going to be controlled here is by that front of room device. Again, the Rally Bar or Rally Bar Mini. And that's the settings that we're looking at here. So we're simply putting the camera into speaker view mode. And now this is what allows for us to, again, triangulate around up to 4 active participants while simultaneously capturing all persons in the room from the front of room camera in a PIP. Now, we do anticipate support for the Rally Plus solution, which keep in mind, that's our modular mic, camera, and speaker solution. We are anticipating to have that integration available later in 2023. Let's go to the next slide. Oh, sorry.
Nathan,
go ahead.
real quick, one gentleman asked if there were wiring diagrams for how Sight should wire up. And while we were talking, I actually brought up a presentation. So let me share out the wiring diagram. And if you wouldn't mind just kind of like walking us through
of
a
course.
little bit, I think it might help some folks that have some burning questions. Let me just make sure I've got my screen pulled out nice and wide. There we go.
Okay, so first one here, we're showing off again the ability to daisy chain external microphones through Sight. So we're showing off in the one that we've got here, Robert, at the moment. What else we got here? Okay, this is showing a general mock-up of what the wiring would look like with a Rally Bar in conjunction with, say, maybe a dual display setup. We have tap in the mix here. This would be our USB tap. And then it looks like we have a couple of external microphones that, again, are daisy chaining through Sight in this scenario. Now, real quick call out, like I was mentioning earlier, as far as the secondary connection for power. You'll notice in the left-hand side where you see the 2 options, right? Coming either from the network jack or from that injector. But regardless, just note that that is kind of the secondary power required, and you're not bringing power over that primary line coming from the front of room. So I think that this wiring diagram illustrates that perfectly. This, so the screen we're seeing here, effectively a very similar scenario. However, we are in USB mode. So we can see that we have a PC in the left-hand side of this diagram, effectively making the Rally Bar a USB peripheral, right? So it's what we call USB mode for the Rally Bar Minis. In this case, in this scenario, Sight is still viable. We can see Sight once again installed in the exact same manner, sans the external microphones, but again, not a requirement. And we can see that we are bringing that primary cat cable from the dongle to Sight, and then once again, the options of powering Sight either through infrastructure network or over an injector. And
then once we get there, once we get there, this will be the Rally Plus wiring, but this support's coming soon.
It is.
And but if you are interested in checking this out, please do. It looks like Josh Smith dropped the link into the chat. Nathan, there's one more question from the audience, and want to see if you can help us answer this. But coming from Patrick Perry, he asks, this person asks, does it support ceiling mount with flipping the camera upside down?
It's a great question. The straight answer, no. It is something that our product management and engineering team get asked regularly. It was something that they evaluated early on. This just real quick call out. Sight wasn't a shower thought, right? This is something that we've been working on for a little over 4 years now. So there was some early testing as far as what this would look like, whether or not, say, a ceiling mount was going to be an option. It started to create these kind of strange views, right? It was kind of, you may hear this called out in other conversation, but you hear this kind of like God-like look, right, about the room, like as if you're looking down on everybody. It wasn't the most, applicable for, say, a inclusive type of environment, right? It kind of makes the other person feel, let's just say, elevated, for in a word. But we have heard that asked. I can't speak for where the product management team will go. I can just say that today that is not a supported mounting option.
Perfect. And then somebody else asked if it's shipping, and it is. So you can actually buy these today and start installing them, play around with them. Get one, get two. Start out, check it out, and let us know your thoughts. And Nathan, I'll turn it back over to you. I don't know if you were done with this slide yet or not.
No, I agree with you, though. I think as far as, really kicking the tires on this is important. In a word, and it comes off a little biased, of course. Everyone can see what I've got on my chest here. But the reality is I do feel it's transformative. You realize that very natural cross-table conversations, again, for the persons at the far end, they actually feel like they're sitting around the table. And that is not something that I could really say for, any of the other solutions or environments that I've found myself in. So just something worth considering. And again, back to Robert's point, if you haven't had the opportunity to see it, to use it, maybe reach out to your local team, your local Logitech team, see if you can go ahead and kind of get something on the books, come visit us in one of our offices, or we'll come visit you. But at the end of the day, we love to go ahead and show this off. I really do feel it's going to be transformative across the board. Okay, so Sight with Zoom Room. So we mentioned earlier as far as what the experience is, what it takes to go ahead and enable it, right? Putting it the front of room bar into speaker view mode, making sure Right Sight 2 is enabled. But let's stop for a second and talk about kind of one of the outliers, and that would be Zoom. So Zoom Room is unique from a platform perspective, simply because it gives the end user the option of actually enabling or disabling Sight on the fly. Mid-meeting is what I mean. So that's not something you necessarily have access to in some of the other platforms today. And again, fully expecting this to change for a number of reasons, right? Not just because of the platforms themselves evolving and growing as they always do, but also on our side of the fence too, right? We're looking to take advantage of things like multi-stream, for example. So as it picks up each individual, they can actually be pulled out into their own cell. Now, why is that important? Maybe it's one of those individuals that you want to pin on your end, so you can just stay focused on them, their messaging, and what's going on there, or remove all the rest of the distractions. That could be one very real reason why, again, us leveraging multi-stream in the near future is going to be beneficial to all involved. So back to Sight and how it's unique. What we're showing the left-hand side here is access in the UI mid-meeting as far as camera controls are concerned and what an end user would see. You can see they can manipulate as far as the different modes are concerned. But once again, it is just the speaker focus today that enables Sight. On the right-hand side, we're seeing the back end, right? That's what they call ZDM, the admin portal. This is where, again, the admins have that control to define the default way in which the rooms start. So even if your end user, say, switches away from speaker view, want to do manual, things of that nature, that's fine. The next user to come in and to use that room, they're going to get a fresh session, so to speak. And it will then fall back to how the admin define these rooms within ZDM, which we're showing on the right-hand side. So just a couple of takeaways that are unique as far as Zoom is concerned.
Hey Nathan, what a question that came up is what about Microsoft Teams and Google? Do they also have this sort of user interface capability in their solutions today?
So not today. We fully expect it to come inbound. Things like granular camera controls, stuff of that nature. We are expecting to see them expose these, in the future. Again, we can't really speak specifically for when we anticipate seeing this, but I would expect that you would see a similar end user experience like we talked about in Zoom here, where again, they can take more control over how the camera and what mode it's in.
Right. What about the admin side today for those guys? So it looks like Zoom's kind of thought through both ends of the spectrum, the user experience and the admin experience. But if I'm in a Microsoft Teams or a Google room, how might I go in and configure that remotely for all of our systems globally?
Yeah, that's great. We've got options. We can do that a number of ways. We can either do it, say, through the setup, so going under Logi settings on tap. Another way of doing this would be go through Sync, right? Sync is our monitoring and managing platform in the cloud. Lastly, I'd leave you with is another option called LNA, local network access, right? So that allows for effectively a web server to get started up on your Rally Bar. And in this case, you can now log into it, and then you can go ahead and change the camera mode that way as well. So you've got multiple options when it comes to what Logitech affords you.
Awesome. Thank you, Nathan.
Right.
Why don't you walk us through Scribe a little bit? I know, what is it, about 4 months now? 4 months ago that we announced Google integration with Scribe.
It was,
yeah.
It's big event.
Through that.
Yeah, they went ahead and they stirred up this show they call InfoComm just because we did this. It was amazing. Yes, we went ahead and announced at the last InfoComm that Scribe is now officially recognized and certified by Google Meet and to work with Google Meet. And again, at the end of the day, people, they see this solution and they start to think that, it's another complex networkable solution. This is actually a USB solution that technically you can go on ahead and plug directly into your laptop and use for the same purpose of bringing up whiteboard within whatever UC platform you're using. So again, just the flexibility of this solution and what it affords, I would say, again, a lot of probably engineering teams, things of that nature, maybe even the executive teams, right, when they're trying to illustrate, project what's going on. Again, it's just a complementary feature that you can now add to your spaces. Very simple as far as deployment's concerned. Does work with glass surfaces as well. We do have a polarizer option we can add onto this. So as far as things like highlight, glare, those kinds of concerns, we can go ahead and accommodate within those spaces as well. Now, there's another piece to the Scribe puzzle, and I want to call this out today again because we're talking about the details, right? So there is a purple, what I call easy button that gets included with Scribe. And that is actually meant for some of our other platforms that we've supported for a while now. So say with Teams and Zoom, to go ahead and easily toggle on and off the Scribe feature. Now, while we do anticipate this coming on the Google Meet side, the way that it works today is that you're going to go ahead and select share. As a matter of fact, I think if we go to the next slide here, I believe we have something to help illustrate our point here. There we go. So we have the present to meeting, and what we're looking at on the right-hand side for those who maybe aren't overly familiar with the Google Meet interface, this is what the end user would see on tap. So to bring Scribe into the meeting, simply going ahead and press the present to meeting, and then you're going to select the whiteboard camera. Now, at that point, what's happened is that whomever has gone ahead, configured and provisioned your room, they've gone ahead and defined Scribe as a content camera within the Google Meet environment. And so that way, when you select whiteboard camera, it automatically knows what you're trying to bring up on screen. And that's where you get presented, or at least the far end gets presented with Scribe. I should clarify that statement because there's a reinforcement locally about this too, right? So if you're sitting in maybe a larger space, you have somebody who's annotating, you can't quite see, you got, say, a sea of heads between you and that whiteboard. That's where, again, the reinforcement on screen locally is also helpful. So again, great experience for the far end participants. And then you also have local reinforcement. Now, a lot of times people will ask us too, when it comes to end of meeting, what happens? Do we get sent some sort of PDF? What we recommend is that it becomes a natural included part of your presentation through the native recording functionality that the platforms provide. Reasoning behind that is context is entirely lost when you just get some disconnected PDF emailed to you at the end of the meeting, especially for the people who need it. Those are the people who tend to not be participants in that meeting. So they wind up getting a PDF with no context. Who participated in this? Where did this idea come from? What iteration are we on? List goes on and on and on. So again, Scribe is included as part of that natural recording for anybody else to go back through archival and understand how do we get to that final concept. So a couple of things as far as what Scribe supports. So works with any whiteboard. Oop, you want to go back one slide real quick?
Sorry about that.
No, you're great. Works with any whiteboard. And again, whiteboards are not scary. We all know how to pop the cap. We all know how to start drawing, doing our little doodles. We know how to use the eraser, right? There's no learning curve when it comes to whiteboard. Seamlessly share via tap. That's what we were just kind of walking through, illustrating here. This is true of the other platforms as well, as far as being able to use the native UI to bring up Scribe. But like I mentioned earlier, Teams and Zoom specifically, they do also recognize the easy button, if you will. Presenter removal. We'll get to an illustration in a moment here that helps to really drive home what we're talking about there, but effectively it's kind of like a transparent, or for the sake of today's Halloween special, a ghost of your presenter that you can see through, again, to get an understanding of kind of where they're focused as far as the annotation is concerned. Content enhancement, that's just, again, making all the scribblings and doodles and things of that nature looking nice and sharp on screen. And then lastly, sticky note detection. We all know that a lot of these annotation whiteboarding sessions tend to be littered with sticky notes. Again, Scribe will recognize those and then render them properly on the screen. So let's move to the next slide real quick and kind of help to illustrate what we're talking about as far as presenter removal that they're showing here. So again, you can see that context. So this person, as they reference the various values on their bar graph, they can again call out everybody seeing, again, from the far end and that local reinforcement, get a really crystal clear understanding of what that person's talking about, what they're referencing to. Let's move to the next one here. Content enhancement. This is like we were talking about earlier, as far as that nice, sharp visual. So no blurry images, things of that nature. Again, does a great job of just bringing over, rendering what you're trying to convey through your illustrations. And then lastly, the sticky note detection. Everybody's favorite. We wind up seeing these sticky notes thrown everywhere, letting persons know, again, where areas of interest are, areas of refinement, and so on.
Awesome. Well, I think with the last few minutes that we have, we'd like to encourage people to ask your questions live if you like. Curious about what you've got. I know that we do have a few questions already in the queue. And I'll go ahead and go through those. But if anybody is interested in asking a question, raise your hand using the Zoom capability of hand raise, and we'll ask you to step up and ask a question. Couple questions or comments that people have are there any plans to be able to implement Scribe in Google Meet without using Tap? Nathan or Josh, I know you're on. Kevin, we've got a few SEs on here. I don't know if anybody knows the answer to that one.
Well, I think it's just to be clear on this, there's going to be some user interface required, right, to go ahead and enable Scribe. So just to be clear, it's not that Scribe is dependent upon Tap or the other way around. It's simply that Tap is just the user interface for the Google Meet environment, right? So if not Tap, there needs to be some user interface is what I'm trying to say here, right? So two things, they're not dependent upon one another, Tap and Scribe. But secondly, it's simply access to the native Google Meet user interface that allows for you to go ahead and bring Scribe into the meeting. I just want to kind of really want to drive that home. Josh, am I missing anything on that one?
I responded in the chat and actually misspelled and hit send too soon. So that's functionality was that word. But basically, you know, what's important to remember about Scribe, and I have users that use this even in BYOD. So you can connect it directly to a laptop and it shows up as a camera, right? So, but I can't send the Scribe camera and my webcam at the same time, right? I can either do one or the other. So again, it kind of adheres to Logitech's USB plug and play philosophy, which is, I think important among all of our products that they can be USB plug and play. And Scribe is no different in that scenario. So I hope that answers the question. But yes, it will work. You just can't send your webcam and the Scribe at the same time in Google Meet, as far as I know.
They are working, if I can add on this one. It's coming. So it's coming, the support on not the Google Meet on the laptop, but in the Meet room. So it's also in appliance mode. They are working as part of the roadmap to have the content, Scribe as a content and the camera. But as Josh and Nathan highlighted, we create everything that is working now. Is up to the application to enable that feature. So we are waiting for the application to enable the second camera as a whiteboard for the appliance mode. I think that is already working for the Google on the Chromebox.
Chromebox, yes.
Perfect. And then, Scribe's amazing. It's a fantastic solution. We use it collaboratively within our solutions engineering team to work through solutions. We're not all together. We're kind of scattered across North America and the world, quite frankly, and using it to be able to diagram things and be able to emphasize points in a design has been really helpful for us from a design standpoint. But just think of how good that would be for teams that are trying to execute on, development practices, accounting, all sorts of things that it could be potentially a really good use case for. And the way I see it is it's kind of a perfect in-between device. So not every room is going to get a digital whiteboard, high-end, super expensive. And so where Scribe falls is in the middle of that, and just taking your cell phone and pointing it at the screen and taking pictures and sending them out later. Scribe kind of fits that nice application use case in the middle and it's also priced at a point where it's very affordable. It's not going to break the bank for a room design. And quite frankly, I personally think every room could use one. How many of us have sat in those calls where somebody grabs their cell phone and points it up at the whiteboard to send out to the people on the far end? I always thought that was a funny use case. Other questions in here, and these don't have to be directly related to Scribe and Sight. Other questions that you might have are good as well. And there is a question that came in here to our chat, and I don't know if anybody on the team has this answer. It's more of a Microsoft type question on what their strategy is. But they ask, Microsoft Intune is ending support for Android device administrator management on devices with GMS. Are Logitech devices being affected? If there is any solution to this or not? They weren't sure if they should ask this question here or not, but I want to see if any of the SEs on the team know the answer to that.
I wish we had another one of our SEs who focuses specifically on the Microsoft kind of environment with us. I have heard as far as the migration, obviously Intune kind of focus more on the MDM play versus say the SCCM, which is meant more for your Windows compute deployments and things of that nature. At the end of the day, I don't see any reason why we would not be compliant. Microsoft is a great partner of ours. We're usually well around the curve as far as the conversation is concerned. I see no reason why Logitech would not be, along for the ride, shall we say. I do not have any conclusive dates on any cutovers or anything like that we can share today. But I don't have any concerns as far as where we stand Microsoft's commitment regarding Android deployment, specifically Teams on Android. It's not something they're walking away from. If they were, there wouldn't be another side of this bridge, right? So again, it's not a straight answer on when we could see this new tool, the naming conventions behind the tool, what will be included, when Intune will effectively go EOL. None of that's being shared here today. Just know that we will be on the other side of that conversation when they do make their move.
And Nathan, a couple more questions and we'll wrap it up. A question came in specific to Ring Central, but I think we could probably raise this up and just say for really any other platform. But the question is, in case anyone is interested using Ring Central, I think it's more of a comment. They're not listed as an option yet for Sight. But speaking with this gentleman, Brian spoke with them last week, and Sight will work. Will work with their room option. So there are ways, especially through BYOD. So if you are running another platform on a compute where you can actually make it work as long as the Scribe is plugged into the Rally Bar or Rally Bar Mini. Hope that helped answer the question.
That's exactly it. I think this does come back a little bit as far as how Sight is really abstracted by the Rally Bar Mini, right? It effectively comes along for the ride. Mentioned earlier, it works in BYOD mode. We can go on ahead, not to say that it's a synonym in Logitech's world, but we can also then, that means use it in USB mode, right? So when we go on ahead, connect Rally Bar Mini, and in USB mode, meaning it's really just a peripheral now, right? It's not hosting the platform, to an outboard compute, Sight comes along for the ride. So again, as far as your Ring Central users, I'll extend this all the way to Amazon Chime, right? You bring the platform, Sight's going to go ahead and be able to work with it in conjunction with the Rally Bar Mini in USB mode.
Yeah, it's a great point, Nathan. And something else I'll call out is, a lot of folks are already using our Rally Bar and Rally Bar Mini with mic pods, right? And so you've seen how that works, right? The mics continue working even when you're using in say a BYOD mode or connected to say an Intel NUC running Teams from on Windows. So again, when it's used in that USB mode, like Nathan said, it really is just an extension, kind of like our mic pods. It's just also a camera. So yeah, it's a great point.
And then and also Sight is a fairly new device. We've just brought it to market not long ago. The future features for Logitech Sight are pretty bright. So stay tuned. There's a lot to come with that, especially when it comes to individual platforms and how they're going to handle multi-stream capabilities and how we're going to help to enhance those experiences with other platforms. So very exciting time for Sight, and it is very much we use it quite frequently. In fact, we had a big all hands meeting this morning where our CEO and other board members who were presenting to the company, they were using Sight sitting around the table, and it was a fantastic experience to be able to see the expressions on people's faces and just getting up a little bit closer and personal with these folks. I mean, we've been away. It's kind of over now, but the pandemic has definitely subsided. And this experience of like head and shoulders is fantastic. And being able to bring that to a conference room with Sight is a fantastic experience. What I'm going to do now is I don't think there's many other questions left. I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping up, and I'm going to share my screen back out here. And just wrap up with everybody, let you know what to expect here coming next. And we want to thank you very much for taking time out of your day and coming to join us. We will be sending out an email here soon with the recording and also the presentation, so you can have those. And if you wouldn't mind, please fill out our survey. We're also going to send you a link to fill out our survey. Tell us how we can improve. Tell us what you liked, what you didn't like. And if you have recommendations for other Talk Techies to me in the future, please let us know. We are open ears and always looking to enhance whatever we can do with Talk Techie to me. And then just some upcoming dates and topics to be aware of. We have one more Talk Techie to Me that's going to happen this year on the 28th of November. Our friend and SE Pike is going to walk us through key innovations at your desk. So very similar format, but he's going to go a little bit deeper on the desktop side of the house. And then we're not going to do a Talk Techie to Me in December. We figured a lot of people will be more focused on holidays and things like that. So we're going to take a break, but we are very excited to announce that we'll be coming back in January with a whole slew of new topics. And that is it. So with that, I'd just like to thank everybody for joining, and have a wonderful rest of your week, and happy Halloween. Drive safe out there. Lots of kids walking around with candy bags and things like that. So please be careful, and we look forward to seeing you guys next month.
Happy Halloween, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
I guess I could play some outro music, but everybody left.
Can keep playing the music. I like that music. So we had only one person understanding who you are, Nathan.
Yeah, I know. And he nailed it pretty quick, too.
Yes. Besides Josh, that outsmart everyone.
I was saying, yeah, I was saying, we've got one inside, one outside. It's we're good. We're good.
How do we drop people?
You need just to.
I gotcha.
Cool. All right.
I think we should be good. You
Okay.
guys, I think we can hop off. Thank you so much for this. I will talk to you guys soon.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Take care.
Bye.